secure. Control, we have an alert situation at Terminal A. The K-9 is signaling contraband, requesting immediate backup. Control, I have a situation at the main terminal. Pregnant female in distress, K-9 has alerted. Requesting immediate assistance.
4:30 p.m. Los Angeles International Airport, LAX. That strange hour, when the airport feels both exhausted and wired, like the whole building has had too much coffee and not nearly enough sleep. Trains screeching above the concourse, rolling suitcases dragging like tired feet, kids whining, parents snapping, announcements blaring, just normal airport chaos. Nothing special, nothing dangerous. And then, you'll see. Officer Ethan Cole was doing what he'd done 1,000 times, walking his usual security route with Blitz, his Belgian Malinois. This dog was a machine. Not literally, but almost. Trained, disciplined. A dog that never breaks heel, never reacts unless something is seriously wrong. Right beside them, skipping to keep up, was 8-year-old Maddie, Ethan's niece. Pink backpack bouncing, sneakers lighting up with every step, hair in 2 uneven braids. Because Ethan tried to help her get ready and, well, he wasn't great at the braid part. Her mom, Ethan's sister, trailing behind, drowning in luggage and check-in stress. She'd begged him, just keep an eye on her for 10 minutes. 10. Please don't lose her. He laughed. He's a trained officer. What could possibly go wrong? Funny how life answers that question. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. Until Blitz stopped. And not a casual, curious sniff kind of stop. Not an ooh, French fry under the bench stop. No. This was the kind of stop that punches cold air straight into your gut before your brain even understands why. One moment Blitz was trotting calmly, and the next, he froze, completely still, like a statue dropped into the middle of Terminal 5, ears pointed forward, tail stiff, shoulders locked, breathing sharp and shallow, every muscle pulled tight like a drawn bow. Blitz, Ethan murmured. Nothing. Buddy, you good? Still nothing. The dog didn't blink, didn't twitch, didn't flinch at the toddler screaming nearby. His entire body was aimed in one direction, laser-focused, unmoving, unblinking. Maddie noticed first. Kids always do. She tugged his sleeve. Uncle Ethan, why's Blitz doing that? He looks weird. Weird didn't even come close. If you've ever seen a dog shift from pet mode to predator mode, it's terrifying. But this wasn't predator mode. This was something else. Something wrong. The air around them changed, like the whole terminal took a breath and held it. People kept moving, talking, arguing, but inside that small frozen circle the world felt tilted, as if the universe whispered, "Pay attention." Ethan's heartbeat rose to his throat. He tightened the leash gently. Blitz, talk to me. What is it? Then, Blitz inhaled, one sharp, trembling breath, Not the sound of sniffing, but the sound of realizing something. And that was the moment everything quietly shifted, a moment that only makes sense in hindsight. Right then, it just felt like trouble. "Uncle Ethan?" Maddie whispered, smaller now. "Why's he staring like that?" Ethan didn't answer. Couldn't. His mind was moving too fast. Because Blitz wasn't just staring. He was locked onto something in the crowd. Or someone. Ethan followed the dog's gaze across the flow of travelers. Until he saw her. A pregnant woman. Mid-30s. Gray sweater. One hand resting on her stomach. Her husband talking to her. Her tired smile soft. Nothing unusual. Nothing dangerous. But Blitz stared at her like she was the epicenter of an invisible earthquake. The dog's mouth tightened. One front paw lifted, just barely, as if he wanted to lunge, but something unseen held him in place. "Easy, boy," Ethan whispered. "Easy." Blitz did not move, did not blink, did not breathe normally. Maddie whispered again, "Uncle Ethan, I don't like this. Blitz never looks like that." She was right. In 5 years, through bomb threats, drug busts, emergencies, Ethan had never seen Blitz freeze like this. This wasn't alertness. This was terror. Pure, silent terror shaped like a dog. And that's when the thought hit him. Hard and sudden. Something is about to go very, very wrong. But he didn't know how wrong. Not yet. Not even close. Because this moment, this still, breath-holding moment at 4:30 p.m. was the first domino. The one that would knock all the others down. And when the last domino fell, a woman's life, a baby's life, and Ethan's entire career would be hanging by a thread. All because Blitz froze like a statue in the middle of LAX. For a second. Just a second. Everything stayed frozen. Blitz. Locked in that terrifying statue pose. Ethan gripping the leash like it might explode. Maddie clutching his sleeve, eyes wide as tennis balls. And then, oh man. Then it happened. Blitz moved. But not like a normal dog move. Not a head tilt. Not a sniff. This was violent, sudden, explosive. The leash jerked so hard Ethan stumbled forward, like his whole body reacted a heartbeat too late. "Whoa, Blitz! Hey, hey!" He barely stopped himself from face-planting on the airport floor. Maddie yelped. People flinched. Someone dropped a pretzel like Blitz barked straight into his soul. "Blitz, what the hell? Easy!" Ethan hissed, digging his boots into the tile. Didn't matter. Blitz was gone. In his head, in his instincts. He wasn't in LAX anymore. He was on a mission from God. He pulled again, harder, dragging Ethan toward Gate 57 like the floor had tilted beneath them. And his eyes, oh God, his eyes, locked, laser-focused on one single human in the crowd. A woman. Pregnant. 7 months, maybe. Loose gray sweater, messy ponytail, ticket crumpled in her hand. Emily Carter, 31, just waiting for her flight to Texas. Normal, harmless. But Blitz looked at her like she was a ticking time bomb. "Uncle Ethan," Maddie whispered, her voice trembling. He's scaring me." "Yeah, honey. He's scaring me too." Blitz growled. Not loud, not aggressive, but deep. A sound that rolls up from behind the ribs, the kind that hits your spine before your ears. "Miller!" Someone barked behind him. Of course. His supervisor, Officer Ramirez. A man who took rules so seriously, Ethan suspected he ironed his socks. "What on earth is your dog doing?" Ramirez snapped. I don't know, sir. He won't stop pulling," Blitz barked. One sharp, explosive bark that sliced through Terminal 5 like a fire alarm. Heads turned. Dozens, all at once. Emily jumped, clutching her stomach. Her husband, big guy, flannel shirt, guitar case, stepped in front of her. "Hey! Control your damn dog!" Ethan's heart slammed his throat. This was bad. No. This was catastrophic. Blitz barked again, louder. Passengers backed away, forming a circle like he was a live grenade. Kids cried. Someone shouted for security. Ramirez hissed, "Cole, get that animal under control now, or I swear—" "I'm trying!" Ethan shot back, voice cracking. "He's never done this!" And it was true. Blitz had never broken discipline, never barked at a civilian, never pulled unless something was truly, fatally wrong. But now, he was a storm, paws skidding, claws scraping, muscles vibrating beneath his fur. And Emily. God. Emily looked terrified, her breath unsteady, hand gripping her stomach. Why is he doing that?" she whispered. "I don't know, ma'am," Ethan said, trying to steady his voice. "He's trained. He doesn't act like this." "Then why is he staring at me?" "I don't know," Ethan repeated. But he did. He knew one thing for sure. Blitz wasn't random. Blitz wasn't confused. Blitz was trying to tell them something. Something urgent. Something invisible. Something only he could sense. Blitz barked again. A rapid, frantic burst. Ramirez leaned in, whispering sharply, "Cole, that dog pulls again, and I'm writing you up on the spot." And that was when Ethan truly panicked. His mind split in two, one part screaming, "Follow the rules," the other part screaming louder, "Trust your dog." The conflict tore through him. Then Blitz snarled, low, broken, like he was begging Ethan to understand. "Sir," Ethan whispered, "something's wrong. I'm telling you, something's—" "Enough!" Ramirez snapped. But Blitz didn't care, didn't even hear him, because for the first time since the chaos began, Blitz lunged. Not at Emily, not at her husband, not toward the gate, but toward nothing. Empty air. As if something unseen was reaching for Emily and Blitz was trying to stop it. Gasps rippled across the crowd. Emily stumbled backward. Her husband grabbed her shoulders. Maddie screamed, Uncle Ethan! And Ethan felt it. That moment. That split second when instinct turns into terror. Because Blitz wasn't acting like a dog anymore. He was acting like something had just whispered his name. In the middle of all that chaos, the yelling, the phones, roads practically breathing fire, Blitz suddenly made a sound that shut Ethan up mid-sentence. Not a bark, not a growl, not anything a trained police dog is supposed to make. It was a cry, a broken, trembling cry that didn't come from his chest, but from somewhere deeper, somewhere raw, like his heart was splitting open. Ethan had heard Blitz make every noise a K9 could make. Barks, growls, warning whines. But this was different. It was the sound of an animal sensing something no human could. Something bad. Something coming fast. Blitz stepped forward. Slowly, almost gently, pulling Ethan with him, his whole body shaking, not with aggression, but something closer to grief, to pain that didn't even belong to him. Blitz. Hey boy. What is it? Ethan whispered, instinctively lowering his voice. But Blitz didn't look at him, not even for a second. His gaze was locked, pinned like a magnet, to Emily Carter. And then, in a move so soft and so unexpected that even her husband froze, Blitz lowered his head, pressed his nose against her pregnant belly, and whimpered. Not loud, not sharp, just a tiny, fragile sound that felt like an apology, or a warning, or both. Emily gasped, one hand flying to her mouth, the other instinctively wrapping around her stomach. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Luke." Her husband stepped forward, ready to shield her. But when he saw Blitz trembling like the fear was tearing him apart, he stopped. Because Blitz wasn't attacking. He wasn't charging. He wasn't even trying to get close. He was communicating, trying desperately to tell them something urgent, something terrifying. "Cole," Rhodes growled behind him, "get your dog away from that woman. Right now." But Ethan, he froze. For the first time in 5 chaotic minutes, he looked, really looked, at Blitz. And what he saw punched the air from his lungs. Blitz's eyes, normally sharp, steady, confident, were wide. Not wide with excitement, wide with fear. A fear Ethan had never seen. Not during bomb threats. Not during drug busts. Not even during shootings. This was new. This was desperation. "Buddy," Ethan whispered, crouching beside him. "Talk to me. Please." Blitz lifted his head, just a little, and their eyes met. And in that heartbeat, a message passed between them. Instinct. Intuition. Something primal. She's in danger. Not later. Now. Emily sucked in a sharp breath, like she couldn't pull in enough air. I don't feel good," she murmured, swaying where she stood. Luke grabbed her arms, panicked. Emily? Hey, look at me. Are you dizzy? She nodded weakly. My chest feels tight. Rhodes threw his hands in the air. For God's sake, Cole, this is exactly why we control these dogs. He probably scared her into a panic attack. But Ethan didn't hear him. His ears were ringing, a siren screaming inside his skull. Because Blitz stepped forward again. One slow, deliberate step, pulled hard, and released a sound Ethan had heard only once in his life. A low, trembling morning howl. Not long, not loud, just 2 seconds. 2 seconds that made the entire world shudder. It was the sound dogs make at funerals. The sound they make when someone is dying. Emily gasped, sharp, painful, and clutched her belly. Her knees buckled. Luke caught her just in time. Emily! The terminal erupted. Shouts for help, footsteps pounding, phones hitting the ground as panic replaced curiosity. And Blitz? Blitz let out another low, broken cry, a sound that made every hair on Ethan's arms rise. Because it wasn't fear. It wasn't panic. It was a warning. A final warning. As if Blitz was saying, do something. Now. After Emily nearly collapsed into Luke's arms, everything just froze. Like the entire airport took one giant breath and forgot how to let it out. Ethan stood there, caught between Blitz shaking like the world was ending, and Captain Rhodes glowering at him like he'd just committed a federal crime in front of Gate 57. Rhodes's voice came down like a hammer striking steel. Cole, final warning, get your dog under control. Each word hit like a punch. Ethan didn't move, couldn't move. His brain was splitting itself in half. One half trying to follow orders, the other half listening to the dog who'd saved his life twice. His heartbeat thudded so loud it drowned out the crowd. Blitz whimpered again, nudging Ethan's leg, not pulling, but begging. Ethan swallowed hard. His voice barely worked. Rhodes, sir, something's wrong with her. Rhodes snapped back instantly. What's wrong is this. He jabbed a finger at Blitz like the dog was a loaded weapon. A dog disrupting federal operations. If you don't remove him right now, you're done. Done. Not reprimanded. Not written up. Done. Career gone. Badge gone. Everything he'd worked for. Gone. And the worst part? Everyone was watching. Phones raised, live streams rolling, whispers slicing through the air like tiny knives. There he is, guy can't control his own K9. Why doesn't he just pull the dog away? Dude's about to get fired today. What a mess. Ethan felt every word, every stare, every judgment. Then, a tiny hand grabbed his sleeve. Uncle Ethan? Maddie. Her voice was soft, barely rising above the chaos, but it hit harder than any of Rhodes's threats. Ethan lowered himself slightly. Yeah, sweetheart. What is it? Maddie's eyes were wide, glassy with fear. She looked at Blitz. trembling so hard his nails tapped the tile. "Uncle Ethan, Blitz never cries like that." Her voice cracked. "Never." Ethan's throat tightened. She was right. Blitz had been shot at. He'd chased gunmen. He'd crawled through explosions. He'd saved people from burning cars. But he had never cried. Not once. Seeing Maddie scared split Ethan open all over again. Her small hands squeezed his arm. "He looks scared, Uncle Ethan. Like really scared. Shouldn't we help him? Or help her?" She nodded toward Emily, now slumped against a seat as Luke tried desperately to keep her conscious. Rhodes barked again, rate 80%. "Cole, don't make me drag you and that dog out of here." Ethan turned toward Rhodes. He opened his mouth, maybe to obey, maybe to argue. He didn't even know, but then Blitz pressed his head into Ethan's stomach. Hard. Not a nudge. Not a bump. A plea. A desperate, trembling plea from a creature who had never begged for anything. Ethan's breath caught. Because in that moment, in that small, fragile second, Ethan understood. Blitz wasn't scared for himself. He was scared for her. For Emily. And Ethan felt it, like a cold wave crashing through his chest. Something was wrong. Something big. Something dangerous. Something that couldn't wait for orders or approvals or protocol. Rhodes shouted again, "Cole, ignore me one more time and you're out!" Ethan's stomach twisted. Years of training tugged at him. Follow the chain of command. Don't question superiors. Protect the badge. Protect the career. But then there was Blitz, the dog who'd dragged him out of live fire. The dog who'd found a missing toddler in minutes. The dog who'd sensed a heart attack victim in a packed crowd. And Blitz was begging. Maddie tugged his sleeve again. "Uncle Ethan, please." Her lower lip trembled. What if Blitz is right? And that one small sentence hit Ethan like a strike of lightning. What if Blitz is right? He looked at Blitz, really looked. The dog's eyes shimmered, wet, terrified, pleading, saying, "You have to trust me. Please. If you don't, something awful is going to happen." Rhodes's heavy footsteps pounded closer behind him. Heat rising at Ethan's neck. Seconds left. Maybe less. Ethan could feel it. The moment before impact. Before the fallout. And then he realized this wasn't a decision anymore. It was a test. Not of discipline. Not of protocol. Not of rank. A test of trust. Who did he trust more? A man yelling orders? Or the dog who had never once failed him? Ethan closed his eyes for half a second, just long enough to hear Blitz whimper again, and Maddie whisper, "Uncle Ethan, do something." Ethan's eyes snapped open. His mind was made up. He knew exactly what he had to do. But here's the thing. The moment he acted, the moment he took even one step toward Emily, his life was never going to be the same again. If you were standing there, with your boss screaming behind you, and your dog begging in front of you. Whose side would you take? And the crazy thing? The exact second Ethan made up his mind, Blitz beat him to it. Out of nowhere, Blitz lifted his head and released a howl that shook the entire terminal. Not loud like a siren, but loud like grief. Something ancient and desperate clawing its way out of him. The floor vibrated. People jumped. A baby started crying. Even Rhodes flinched. It was the kind of sound you hear right before something terrible happens. The kind that makes your skin go cold without knowing why. And that was it. That was the breaking point. Ethan snapped. He didn't think, didn't calculate, didn't weigh consequences. He just moved. He grabbed Blitz's leash and threw it on the floor, hard. The metal clip clattered against the tile, echoing through the terminal. Gasps erupted. Someone yelled, "Holy crap! He just dropped the leash!" Phones whipped up instantly, everyone recording. Rhodes's fury exploded behind them. "Ethan Cole, what the hell are you?" But Ethan ignored him. For the first time in his entire career, he ignored a direct order like it meant nothing. He stepped forward, fast, urgent, throwing an arm out in front of Emily Carter as if shielding her from an explosion. "Ma'am." His voice cracked, but stayed firm. "Please, please, stop. I need you to sit down. I need medics to check you. I'm begging you." Emily stared at him, wide-eyed. Luke stepped automatically between them. "What? Why? She's fine, she's just stressed." "No," Ethan whispered, shaking his head. "No, she's not. Something's wrong. Blitz. He's never acted like this, ever." The crowd erupted. "He's abusing his authority." "Back off, man. She didn't do anything. That's harassment. Is this even legal?" Someone screamed, "Let the woman go." It felt like the whole airport turned against him at once. Rhodes stormed forward, veins bulging in his neck. "Cole, step away from that passenger right now." But Ethan didn't budge. Instead, he stepped closer, blocking Emily gently but firmly. "Ma'am," he pleaded over the noise. "Please. I've been doing this job a long time. Blitz has been doing it even longer. And he has never reacted like this unless someone's in real danger." Emily's face drained of color, her hand wrapped around her stomach. Luke clutched her other hand, confused and terrified. "What danger? What are you talking about?" Ethan's voice lowered, shaky, urgent. "He can smell something we can't. Something happening inside your body." People gasped. A few lowered their phones. Rhodes shoved through the crowd, furious. "Cole, that's enough!" But Ethan kept talking. "Ma'am, I know this looks insane. I know how it must feel, but please, trust me for 60 seconds. Let medics check you. If I'm wrong, I'll take the suspension. I'll take whatever punishment comes." He swallowed, voice breaking. "But if I'm right, your life and your baby's life are in danger." Emily's eyes glistened. Fear, pain, confusion. "Luke," she whispered, I don't feel good." Luke's face tightened. You said you were dizzy earlier. Why didn't you tell me it was worse? I didn't want to ruin the trip. She breathed shallowly. Ethan stepped closer, palms open. Please, just sit. Let us help. Rhodes grabbed Ethan's arm and yanked him back. That's it! You're relieved of duty. But Blitz moved. Fast. He launched forward, not to attack, to block. He planted himself between Rhodes and Ethan, teeth visible, body rigid. Not toward Emily, not toward Luke, toward Rhodes. Not threatening, warning. Don't stop him. The crowd exploded. Whoa! Get that dog away from him! That officer is done! Oh my God, did that dog just defend him? Rhodes actually stumbled back, shocked. And in that split second, Emily swayed. Her knees buckled, her breath hitched, her eyes fluttered. Luke caught her mid-collapse. Emily! People screamed. A suitcase toppled. Someone yelled for medics. Blitz barked sharply, frantic, urgent, as if shouting, "Now! Act now!" Ethan ripped free from Rhodes's grip. Move! He sprinted, catching Emily just as she fell, lowering her gently to the floor. She gasped, clutching her stomach, struggling for air. Luke shouted for help. People backed away. Phones dropped. The chaos dissolved into shock. And Blitz pressed himself against Ethan's side, trembling violently. But finally, he stopped crying. Because he knew. They'd finally reached the moment he'd been warning them about. If you were standing there, watching this unfold, would you think Ethan was crazy? Or would you start to believe Blitz wasn't trying to attack her? He was trying to save her. The second Ethan caught Emily before she hit the floor, everything exploded again. Not quietly, not slowly, but like someone ripped a power cable straight out of the wall and hell poured through the socket. Because Luke, terrified just moments earlier, suddenly snapped. Not out of anger, but out of panic. Pure, raw panic. He lunged forward, grabbed Ethan by the vest, and shoved him so hard Ethan nearly stumbled backward. Get away from my wife! His voice cracked, loud enough to shake the whole terminal. People gasped. A guy shouted, Hey man, chill. Someone else screamed for security. Ethan raised both hands, palms open. Luke, listen to me. She's in danger, man. Blitz has been trying to tell us. But Luke shoved him again, eyes wild, frantic. You don't touch her. You don't lay a finger on her. She almost passed out because you scared her. No, Ethan yelled, his calm finally breaking. She didn't pass out because of me. She passed out because something is wrong inside her. But Luke couldn't hear any of it. Fear had swallowed every logical thought. You're a cop, not a doctor, Luke spat. Leave us alone. And then, Captain Rhodes bulldozed through the crowd. Oh, this is done. Cole, step away from the passenger. Right now. I can't, Ethan said, firm, unwavering. You can, and you will. Rhodes's hand shot toward the handcuffs at his belt, and then everything went sideways. Because Blitz, usually the calmest, most disciplined K9 in the unit, darted between them and planted himself, rigid, in front of Ethan. Ears flat, legs locked, chest forward, teeth just barely visible, not attacking, but warning. Do not touch him. Rhodes froze mid-step. Oh, hell no, he breathed. Cole, call off that dog. Call him off. But Ethan didn't. Couldn't. Because Blitz wasn't acting like a trained K9 anymore. He was acting like something older, something primal, a protector. The crowd erupted. That dog is dangerous. Grab him. He's gonna bite the officer. What is happening? A little kid cried. A woman fainted. Someone yelled they were calling airport police. And Maddie, tiny, terrified Maddie, ran through the maze of legs and wrapped her arms around Blitz's neck, sobbing into his fur. Blitz, please don't get in trouble. Please. You didn't do anything wrong. Her small voice cut straight through the chaos. Even Rhodes paused. Because he wasn't just looking at a dog now. He was looking at an 8-year-old girl clinging to him like a lifeline. Cole, Rhodes said, voice softer than before. This is out of control. Call off the dog. Now. But Ethan couldn't answer. His eyes were locked on Emily. She wasn't moving. Her eyelids fluttered. Her breathing, shallow, uneven. Her face, pale, too pale. Luke, Ethan said urgently, stepping forward despite Rhodes. Look at her! Look at her! She's not okay! Luke looked, really looked, and all the anger drained from his face at once, replaced by pure, crushing terror. Oh God! Emily? Sweetheart? Emily, hey! Stay with me, please! She didn't respond. The sight punched the air out of Ethan's chest. Behind him, Maddie whispered through sobs. Please help her, Blitz. Please. Blitz whined softly, nudging her cheek, then snapped his gaze back to Emily, body trembling with urgency. And that finally cracked Luke open. He dropped to his knees beside his wife, hands shaking as he pushed her hair back. Oh God, he whispered. What's happening to her? Rhodes stepped forward again, still gripping the handcuffs, breathing hard. Cole, step back. She fainted. That's all. Security will handle this. No. Ethan's voice shook with anger, with fear, with absolute conviction. No, Rhodes. This isn't a faint. This is something else. Rhodes spun on him. What are you, a doctor, a psychic? You're a security officer, and a reckless one at that. This? But Blitz suddenly barked, a sharp, explosive bark right in Rhodes's face. Rhodes jumped back, startled. Damn it, Cole! I swear to God, I will have that dog suspended and you fired. And Ethan finally snapped. Then fire me! I'm not walking away from her. The terminal fell silent, dead silent. No movement, no breath. Even the airport announcements went quiet. Rhodes stared at him, disbelief written across his face. You're choosing a dog over your badge? Ethan didn't hesitate. I'm choosing a life. Luke looked up, broken. Please, someone help her. Please. Maddie sobbed harder against Blitz. And Blitz, still trembling, nudged Ethan again, eyes locked on Emily, as if he could feel every second slipping away. And Ethan knew there was no going back now. Not after this. Not ever. And honestly, nobody argued any more after that. Not Luke, not Rhodes, not the screaming passengers. Everyone just shifted, like the panic finally snapped into place. Within minutes, medics pushed through the crowd with a gurney, rushing Emily toward the airport's tiny medical room. A cramped space near Gate 58 meant for dehydration or sprained ankles. Not this, not whatever this was turning into. Ethan tried to follow, but Rhodes threw an arm out, blocking him. "You stay, right here." Still sharp, but quieter now, uneasy. Ethan didn't argue, didn't trust his voice. He just nodded, grabbed Blitz by the harness, and waited outside the door. Luke followed the medics in, tripping over his own feet, wiping tears, whispering, "Emily, please, please stay with me." The door closed, and the hallway dropped into silence. Even Blitz froze. No whining, no pacing, just stillness, like he knew the worst part hadn't even hit yet. Inside, muffled noises filtered through. A monitor beeping, metal clattering, urgent voices. A nurse opened the blinds halfway so they could see through the tiny safety glass window. Emily sat on the exam table, pale, shaky, trembling, her breathing too fast, her hands trembling uncontrollably. The medic wrapped a blood pressure cuff around her arm. Luke stood beside her, whispering, trying, failing to stay calm. And then Blitz stiffened, every muscle locked tight. Ethan felt it like electricity through the leash. "Blitz, hey, what is it?" he whispered. Blitz didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. He just stared through that square window like he was watching a bomb tick down. Inside, the medic pumped the cuff, watched the numbers, and his face changed. Barely. A shift. Tiny. But enough. Luke saw it too. "What? What's wrong? What does that mean?" The medic forced a tight smile. "Just taking another reading. Red flag." Emily pressed her fingers to her forehead. "Everything's spinning." Luke grabbed her shoulders. Sit still, sweetheart," Emily whispered. I can't feel my fingers. Luke, my fingers. Why can't I?" She didn't finish. Her eyes rolled upward, a terrifying white sweep. Her body went stiff. And then, slam! She collapsed off the table like a puppet with its strings cut. Luke screamed, "Emily!" The medic lunged forward. "Get her on the floor, now!" The nurse hit an emergency button, and Blitz howled. The loudest, most soul-ripping howl yet. The kind that freezes every heart in the room. Before Ethan even fully processed it, he was on his feet, yanking the door open. Rhodes grabbed him. "Cole, no! Let me go!" Ethan snapped, ripping out of his grip. He shoved inside. and the scene hit him like a truck. Emily on the tile, her body jerking violently, limbs twisting, back arching unnaturally, foam at her mouth, her head snapping against the floor until the medic slid a jacket underneath. Luke knelt beside her, sobbing, his voice shredded. "Somebody help her, please! Somebody, please!" The medic shouted, "She's seizing! Oxygen! Call the ambulance! Now!" Then blood. A thin red trickle from Emily's nose, growing thicker. Luke's voice broke into a scream. "Emily! No! No! Stay with me!" The nurse fumbled with an IV kit, her hands shaking too much to control. Ethan froze, the world tilting sideways. He'd seen shootings, stabbings, explosions, overdoses. Nothing looked like this. This was a body shutting down, right in front of them. The medic barked orders. "Hypertensive crisis. Her pressure's critical. We're losing time. Get that line in." Luke sobbed harder. "Emily, please, please, don't do this, don't!" And Blitz, still in the doorway, let out a low, mournful whine. He lowered his head to the floor, laying down slowly, like bracing for impact. Ethan's vision blurred. Rhodes pushed inside, eyes wide. Jesus, what the hell is happening? Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't. His eyes were locked on Emily, her body jerking, lungs fighting, life slipping. Luke grabbed Ethan's arm, fingers smeared with blood. You said Blitz was warning us." He choked on the words. "Was this it? Was this what he saw?" Ethan's throat burned, because now, seeing Blitz trembling, watching Emily break apart, he knew this was it. This was exactly the nightmare Blitz had sensed coming, and they were officially out of time. And just when everyone thought things couldn't possibly get worse, that maybe Emily would stabilize, that the seizure would slow down, the doctor burst into the room like she'd sprinted through the entire airport. One single look at Emily convulsing on the floor, blood at her lip, Luke screaming, the medic struggling with the IV. And the doctor's voice boomed through the room. "Severe eclampsia! She's crashing!" Those words hit like a grenade. Luke froze mid-sob. The nurse gasped. Even Rhodes staggered back a step. Ethan felt Blitz press harder against his leg, like he could feel the shock ripping through everyone. The doctor dropped to her knees, hands moving fast, checking reflexes, pulse, belly, airway. Her expression went pale. "Her blood pressure is off the charts," she breathed. "We need to move, now. If this had happened mid-flight..." She stopped. Then she said the sentence that killed the air in the room. She would have died. Both of them. Mother and baby. Luke made a sound. Not a cry, not a scream, but something in between. Like his soul tore in half. He collapsed to the floor, grabbing Emily's hand with both of his, pressing his forehead to her fingers. "Oh God, Emily, no, no, no." He shook as he sobbed, shoulders heaving. The doctor kept going, sharp, urgent, relentless. Cabin pressure would have escalated the seizure. Her organs are already under massive stress. She never would have made it to Texas. Not a chance. The words hung there like smoke. Dead. Both of them. Gone on the plane, in the sky, with Luke helpless beside her. And Blitz, this trembling, terrified dog, had known the whole time. Ethan felt his heart slam into his ribs. Every yell, every insult, every accusation, every threat from Rhodes, every shove from unknown passengers. Blitz had been right. From the very beginning, the medic fitted oxygen over Emily's face. The doctor pushed magnesium into the IV. The nurse called for an ambulance. Luke whispered into Emily's ear, "Please don't die. Please don't die. I can't lose you. Please." It hurt to watch. Even Rhodes looked shaken, like the weight of what almost happened was finally hitting him. Ethan swallowed hard. Doc, would she really have... The doctor didn't look up. She wouldn't have survived the flight. The pressure would have triggered a catastrophic seizure. Her brain could have hemorrhaged. And the baby, she paused. Her voice softened. The baby wouldn't have stood a chance. Silence. Real silence. Even Blitz stopped whining. Then the doctor looked at him, really looked, and her eyes widened. Is that the K9 who alerted? Ethan nodded slowly. Yeah, that's Blitz. And then, the most unbelievable thing happened. The doctor let out a tiny breath, almost a whisper. Well, he saved her life, and her baby's. There's no question. Luke turned, eyes red, face streaked with tears. He stared at Blitz like he wasn't a dog, but something more. Something holy. A warning. A miracle. Luke crawled to him on his knees, slow, shaking, and rested a trembling hand on Blitz's back. Gentle, careful, like touching something sacred. You, Luke choked. You knew. Another tear dropped. You knew she was dying. Blitz leaned forward, pressed his head into Luke's chest. Slow, soft, comforting. Luke broke completely. He covered his face and sobbed into Blitz's fur. Loud, raw, heartbreaking sobs. Not from guilt, not from fear, from gratitude. Overwhelming, crushing gratitude. I screamed at you. I shoved him. And you were trying to save her. You were trying to save both of them. Ethan blinked hard, eyes stinging. Even Rhodes looked away, unable to watch a grown man shatter and heal in the same breath. Emily's body finally stilled. Her chest rose unevenly beneath the oxygen mask. The medic looked up. She's stabilizing. We've got her. Luke kissed her forehead, whispering thanks over and over. The EMTs arrived with a stretcher. We need to get her to the ER immediately, the doctor said. Her condition is still dangerous, but we have a chance now. A chance Blitz had dragged back from the edge of death. Ethan sank to his knees next to Blitz, arms wrapping around him. Blitz leaned into him, finally letting out a long, exhausted breath, like he'd been holding it since the moment he sensed something was wrong. Ethan whispered into his fur, "You did it, buddy. You did it." Then Maddie peeked in, eyes red and swollen. Is she gonna live?" Ethan nodded softly. She will, because of Blitz. Maddie dropped to her knees, hugged Blitz so tight he let out a tiny grunt. You're a hero. You're really a hero. And for the first time since the nightmare began, Blitz's tail gave the tiniest shake, and honestly, no one fully breathed again until the ambulance doors slammed shut and the sirens faded into the night. But what came next, that long, aching wait at the hospital, was its own kind of torture. They rushed Emily straight into emergency surgery. No hesitation, no paperwork, no questions. The doctor shouted, "Prep the OR now!" And the whole hallway exploded into motion. Luke couldn't even stand. He kept pacing in broken circles, wiping his hands over his face like he was trying to scrub the terror off. Ethan stood beside him, Blitz at his feet. Maddie clutching Blitz's collar like it was the only solid thing in her universe. And for the first 30 minutes, no one spoke. Not a word. Just the beep of intercoms, the rush of nurses, and Blitz, breathing slow, steady breaths, like he was grounding the entire hallway. Then, finally, after what felt like hours, a surgeon in blue scrubs walked toward them. Luke almost collapsed just seeing him. "Is she okay? Please, just tell me she's okay." The surgeon raised a calm hand. "Your wife is alive." Luke dropped into the nearest chair, sobbing into his palms. Not from fear now, but relief. Bone-deep relief. The surgeon continued, voice warm but exhausted. "She had a severe eclamptic episode. Very dangerous. But we stabilized her, and the emergency C-section went smoothly." Luke's breath caught. C-section? Is the baby? And for the first time all night, the surgeon smiled. "She's here. Tiny, just under 3 pounds, but breathing on her own. Strong little fighter." Maddie gasped softly. Blitz's ears perked. Ethan felt his throat tighten. "A girl," Luke whispered. "A baby girl." The surgeon nodded. "You can see her soon. She's in the NICU, but she's stable." Stable. A word Ethan hadn't dared hope for. The surgeon turned to Blitz with gentle awe. "This the K9 who alerted?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah. This is Blitz." The surgeon shook his head slowly, almost laughing in disbelief. "Well, he saved 2 lives tonight. No question about it." Luke turned, eyes red and shining, and pointed at Blitz. "She's alive. Because of him." And Blitz, sweet, exhausted Blitz, just tilted his head, tail tapping lightly against the tile. A small, thoughtful tap. Like he understood. Like he'd been waiting to hear someone finally say it out loud. The surgeon crouched, studying Blitz with reverence. "Her blood pressure spike was catastrophic. We caught it just in time. 30 more minutes without intervention, and..." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Luke kneeled in front of Blitz, cupped the dog's face in both hands. "I yelled at you," he whispered. "I shoved your handler. I thought you were dangerous, wrong, crazy." His voice cracked. But you were the only one who understood. You were the only one who saw it. Blitz leaned forward, pressed his forehead into Luke's chest. Soft, forgiving, unconditional. Maddie sniffled loudly. You're a hero, Blitz. You're really a hero. And Blitz did something that made Ethan's eyes sting. He looked toward the ICU doors, just stared at them. Tail still tapping that quiet, hopeful rhythm. Like he was guarding someone he'd been protecting long before she ever knew his name. An hour passed, then another. Emily was moved from surgery to a recovery room in the ICU. Luke went in first. Family first. Ethan stayed back, gave them the moment. But Blitz didn't move from the doorway, not an inch. He stood there like a statue, head up, ears relaxed, tail gently tapping like his heartbeat had migrated to the end of it. A nurse passed and paused. Is he waiting for her? Ethan exhaled softly. Yeah. He won't leave until he sees her. The nurse gently stroked Blitz's head. Well, he should know she's asking for her husband. She woke up about 10 minutes ago. Groggy, but talking. Ethan blinked hard. She's awake? The nurse smiled. And the baby's doing beautifully. Strong heartbeat. Breathing steady. Maddie squeaked. I want to see the baby. The nurse laughed softly. You will, one at a time. Luke finally returned, eyes red, but glowing with new light. She's awake, he whispered. And she asked about the dog. Ethan huffed a small, shaky laugh. Oh yeah? What did she say? Luke swallowed. She said, Did Blitz save us? Ethan looked down at Blitz. You hear that, buddy? Blitz lifted his head, ears twitching, and his tail wagged just a little faster. Luke motioned toward the ICU window. Come on, she wants to see all of you. Maddie practically skipped. Ethan followed, chest tight, heavy with emotion. Blitz walked beside him. Steady, calm, certain. They reached the window, and there she was. Emily, pale, tired, eyes heavy, but smiling. And beside her, in a tiny incubator, a baby girl. So small, so fragile, but alive. When Blitz saw her, he pressed his nose gently to the glass, and his tail wagged once, slow, certain, as if he was saying, I knew she'd make it. And honestly, walking out of that ICU hallway into the waiting area felt different. Like the air itself had changed. Like this heavy, invisible weight that had been sitting on everyone's chest for 2 straight hours. Finally let go. Luke came out first, not rushing, not panicking, not collapsing, just walking, slowly, carefully. Like every step was deliberate, like he didn't trust the floor to stay still beneath him. His face was red, eyes swollen, shoulders trembling, but this time, The trembling wasn't from fear, it was from relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. Ethan shot up immediately. "Hey, how is she? Is she—" Luke didn't let him finish. He stepped forward, grabbed Ethan, and pulled him into the kind of hug you don't forget. Not some stiff, polite handshake masquerading as a hug. No. This was a full-body, falling apart, don't let go kind of hug. And Luke sobbed into Ethan's shoulder. Not loud, not messy. Just this raw, broken whisper. Your dog saved my family. Ethan froze, because the words hit harder than anything today. Then he hugged Luke back just as tight. For a moment, it didn't matter that Luke had shoved him earlier. Didn't matter that he'd yelled. Didn't matter that 30 minutes ago Ethan thought he was about to lose his badge, his job, everything he'd worked for. All of that. Gone. Luke pulled back enough to look Blitz's way. I thought I was going to lose her. Both of them. And his voice cracked, breaking in half mid-sentence. He never stopped. He never gave up. Not for 1 second. Blitz lifted one paw, like he was offering it. Luke let out a shaky laugh, half cry, half smile. You're unbelievable, buddy. Absolutely unbelievable. He knelt, cupped Blitz's face gently, reverently. I'll never forget this, Luke whispered. Never. You hear me? Never. And Blitz, sweet, exhausted, perfect Blitz, leaned forward and licked the tears right off Luke's cheek. That was it. Luke broke again. But not from fear this time. From gratitude. Gratitude so big it shoved him right onto the floor, knees hitting the tile. Maddie knelt beside Blitz, wrapping her arms around his back, burying her face in his fur. You're my hero, she sniffled. You're the bravest dog in the whole world. Blitz nudged her gently, resting his chin on top of her head. Then, the last person anyone expected walked up. Captain Rhodes, slow, awkward, uncertain, not barking, not scowling, not ready to explode. Just quiet. Ethan straightened, bracing himself for the lecture of his life. But Rhodes didn't shout, didn't sigh, didn't even mutter. He just stared at Blitz, then at Ethan, then back at Blitz. And in a voice Ethan had never heard from the Pyong before, soft, uncomfortable, almost human, Rhodes said, Cole, I owe you an apology. Ethan blinked, actually blinked. Sir, what? Rhodes cleared his throat, looked down, looked away, like this apology physically hurt him to deliver. I was wrong, he said quietly. Dead wrong. I thought you'd lost control. I thought the dog was unstable. I thought you were risking the airport's safety. Risking everything. He shook his head. But the truth is, you and Blitz were the only ones who saw what was really happening. The only ones who listened. Ethan couldn't speak, couldn't even try. Rhodes looked at Blitz, his expression softening. That dog isn't just trained. He's exceptional. Then he looked back at Ethan. And you trusted him, even when I didn't trust you. Rhodes extended a hand. Cole, I'm sorry. Ethan stared at the hand, not sure if he was supposed to laugh, cry, or salute. But Blitz nudged Ethan's leg. A little push, almost like, it's okay, go on. So Ethan shook Rhodes's hand, firm, solid, like burying the entire battle in one single moment. Rhodes exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for hours. Hell of a job today, Cole. Hell of a job. Then, to everyone's shock, Maddie tugged Rhodes's sleeve. Captain? Rhodes actually knelt down. Yes, sweetheart. Maddie wiped her eyes. Blitz is a hero, right? Rhodes looked at Blitz, then at the girl clinging to him, and he said softly, 100%. That's when a nurse appeared. Luke, Emily's asking if Blitz can come closer to the window. She wants to see him again. Luke's smile, small, cracked but real, spread across his face. She said he's the first thing she wants to look at. Blitz perked up, ears forward, tail starting a slow, excited wag. Maddie sniffled a laugh. Go, Blitz! She wants to see you! Ethan motioned down the hall. Come on, buddy. Let's go say hi. Blitz trotted forward. Steady, proud, like a soldier returning from battle. Everyone followed behind. Luke wiping his eyes, Maddie holding Blitz's tail, Rhodes uncharacteristically quiet, Ethan's chest tight with emotion. They reached the ICU window. Emily lay inside, pale, exhausted, but smiling. Smiling. When she saw Blitz, her whole face softened. Hi, sweetheart, she whispered through the glass. You saved us. Blitz pressed his nose to the window, tail wagging, gentle, soft, grateful. And for the first time since this entire nightmare began, the hallway felt full of light again, and honestly, after everything they'd lived through, nobody thought life would ever feel normal again. But a month later, on a quiet Friday morning at LAX, something happened that felt like the whole storm had finally passed. Ethan was doing his usual patrol with Blitz, Maddie skipping beside them, her backpack bouncing with each step. Nothing dramatic, nothing terrifying. Just the usual airport soundtrack. Rolling suitcases, distant conversations, overhead announcements drifting through the air. Then the elevator near Gate 57 dinged, and out stepped Luke Carter. But he wasn't alone. Emily was right beside him. Healthier, brighter, moving slow but steady, and in her arms, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, was their daughter. The tiny little fighter who had beaten every odd thrown at her. Luke spotted them first. There they are, he murmured to Emily, voice soft with awe. There's the team that saved you. Emily looked up, and the smile that spread across her face. God, it nearly knocked Ethan off his feet. Ethan, she whispered. Blitz, Maddie gasped so loudly it echoed. "Oh my gosh! Is that her? Is that the baby?" Emily laughed quietly, the sound fragile but warm. "This is her," she said. "This is Ava. Ava Grace Carter." She peeled back the blanket, just a little, and there she was. Ava was tiny, still small enough to fit in 2 hands, but her cheeks were pink, her lips soft, her breathing steady, alive, against all odds, beautifully, impossibly alive. Ethan swallowed hard. "Wow," he whispered. "She's perfect." And Blitz, who had been stone still until now, took a slow, deliberate step forward, not rushing, not jumping, just approaching, like he knew exactly who she was. Emily lowered herself carefully, kneeling with Ava in her arms so she was level with Blitz. "You remember him, sweetheart?" she whispered. "This is the dog who saved your life." Ava blinked, wide, curious, newborn eyes, and reached out the tiniest hand. Her fingers brushed Blitz's nose, and Blitz froze. Then slowly, gracefully, he bowed his head, a gentle, respectful bow, like he was greeting royalty. He leaned forward, so carefully it barely looked real, and gave a tiny, warm lick to the center of Ava's palm. Emily inhaled sharply, tears filling her eyes instantly. Luke covered his mouth with both hands, completely undone. Maddie squealed softly, "Oh my gosh, Blitz! She loves you!" Blitz's tail began that slow, proud wag, the one he only used when something mattered more than anything else. And Ava, that tiny miracle, curled her fingers into Blitz's fur and held on. Just held on. Like she knew. Like she remembered him from somewhere deep inside the darkness he'd pulled her out of. Ethan had to look away, his eyes burning too hard to fight it. Emily wiped a tear, whispering, "She wouldn't be here without you. Either of you." Ethan shook his head softly. "No, she's here because of him," he said, placing a hand on Blitz's shoulder. "I just followed his lead." Blitz looked up at Ethan with this expression that basically said, "Damn right you did." Luke chuckled through his tears. "You know, the doctors still talk about him," he said. "They tell everyone this story, how a canine dog sensed something no machine did." Emily nodded. "They call her the Miracle Airport Baby." Maddie's eyes went huge. "For real?" Emily smiled. "For real." Blitz nudged Ava again, softly, gently, like he was checking on her. Ava cooed, kicking her tiny feet. Ethan felt something shift in his chest, something warm, something heavy, something he didn't even know he'd been missing. He crouched beside Blitz and whispered, "Sometimes heroes don't wear badges. They wear fur." Emily's smile trembled. Luke wiped his eyes again. "Oh man," he groaned, "you're gonna make me cry all over again." Maddie giggled, hugging Blitz from behind. "Blitz doesn't need a badge," she said proudly. "He already saved somebody." Blitz gave a soft huff, the dog version of exactly. Passengers walking by started slowing down, staring at the scene like it was something out of a movie. Smiles, whispers, a few tears. No fear this time. No shouting. No judgment. Just peace, warm, beautiful peace. Emily adjusted Ava in her arms. "When she's older," she said, "we're going to tell her this story every single birthday, and Blitz will always be part of it." Ethan snorted softly. "He's gonna expect cake if he's part of the birthday celebrations." Luke shrugged. "Fine by me. He deserves a whole cake." Blitz perked up, clearly understanding the word cake. Everyone laughed, really laughed, and the sound carried through the terminal like sunlight breaking through clouds. Emily leaned her head on Luke's shoulder. "We just wanted to come say thank you," she said. "In person. All three of us." Ethan opened his mouth to answer, but Blitz stepped forward first. He lifted one paw and placed it gently on Emily's knee, like he was saying, "No need. I'd do it again." And maybe that was the real ending. Not the rescue, not the surgery, not the miracle baby, but this. A moment. Quiet, soft, deeply human. A dog. A family. A child whose heartbeat existed because he refused to stay silent. And in that busy airport hallway, surrounded by strangers and luggage and flight announcements, everyone felt it. A love you don't see every day. A hero you don't forget. If you were standing there, watching little Ava grab Blitz's nose like that, would your heart survive it? Or would you melt on the spot like the rest of us? And honestly, after everything they'd lived through, nobody thought life would ever feel normal again. But a month later, on a quiet Friday morning at LAX, something happened that felt like the whole storm had finally passed. Ethan was doing his usual patrol with Blitz, Maddie skipping beside them, her backpack bouncing with each step. Nothing dramatic, nothing terrifying. Just the usual airport soundtrack. Rolling suitcases, distant conversations, overhead announcements drifting through the air. Then the elevator near Gate 57 dinged, and out stepped Luke Carter. But he wasn't alone. Emily was right beside him. Healthier, brighter, moving slow but steady, and in her arms, wrapped in a soft pink blanket, was their daughter. The tiny little fighter who had beaten every odd thrown at her. Luke spotted them first. "There they are," he murmured to Emily, voice soft with awe. "There's the team that saved you." Emily looked up, and the smile that spread across her face. God, it nearly knocked Ethan off his feet. "Ethan," she whispered. "Blitz." Maddie gasped so loudly it echoed. "Oh my gosh, is that her? Is that the baby?" Emily laughed quietly, the sound fragile but warm. "This is her," she said. "This is Ava. Ava Grace Carter." She peeled back the blanket. Just a little. And there she was. Ava was tiny, still small enough to fit in 2 hands. But her cheeks were pink, her lips soft, her breathing steady, alive, against all odds, beautifully, impossibly alive. Ethan swallowed hard. "Wow," he whispered. "She's perfect." And Blitz, who had been stone still until now, took a slow, deliberate step forward, not rushing, not jumping, just approaching, like he knew exactly who she was. Emily lowered herself carefully, kneeling with Ava in her arms so she was level with Blitz. "You remember him, sweetheart?" she whispered. "This is the dog who saved your life." Ava blinked, wide, curious, newborn eyes, and reached out the tiniest hand. Her fingers brushed Blitz's nose, and Blitz froze. Then slowly, gracefully, he bowed his head, a gentle, respectful bow, like he was greeting royalty. He leaned forward, so carefully it barely looked real, and gave a tiny, warm lick to the center of Ava's palm. Emily inhaled sharply, tears filling her eyes instantly. Luke covered his mouth with both hands, completely undone. Maddie squealed softly, "Oh my gosh, Blitz! She loves you!" Blitz's tail began that slow, proud wag, the one he only used when something mattered more than anything else. And Ava, that tiny miracle, curled her fingers into Blitz's fur and held on. Just held on. Like she knew. Like she remembered him from somewhere deep inside the darkness he'd pulled her out of. Ethan had to look away, his eyes burning too hard to fight it. Emily wiped a tear, whispering, "She wouldn't be here without you. Either of you." Ethan shook his head softly. "No, she's here because of him," he said, placing a hand on Blitz's shoulder. "I just followed his lead." Blitz looked up at Ethan with this expression that basically said, "Damn right you did." Luke chuckled through his tears. "You know, the doctors still talk about him," he said. "They tell everyone this story, how a canine dog sensed something no machine did." Emily nodded. "They call her the Miracle Airport Baby." Maddie's eyes went huge. "For real?" Emily smiled. "For real." Blitz nudged Ava again, softly, gently, like he was checking on her. Ava cooed, kicking her tiny feet. Ethan felt something shift in his chest, something warm, something heavy, something he didn't even know he'd been missing. He crouched beside Blitz and whispered, "Sometimes heroes don't wear badges. They wear fur." Emily's smile trembled. Luke wiped his eyes again. "Oh man," he groaned, "you're gonna make me cry all over again." Maddie giggled, hugging Blitz from behind. "Blitz doesn't need a badge," she said proudly. "He already saved somebody." Blitz gave a soft huff, the dog version of "exactly." Passengers walking by started slowing down, staring at the scene like it was something out of a movie. Smiles, whispers, a few tears. No fear this time. No shouting. No judgment. Just peace, warm, beautiful peace. Emily adjusted Ava in her arms. When she's older, she said, we're going to tell her this story every single birthday, and Blitz will always be part of it. Ethan snorted softly. He's gonna expect cake if he's part of the birthday celebrations. Luke shrugged. Fine by me. He deserves a whole cake. Blitz perked up, clearly understanding the word cake. Everyone laughed, really laughed, and the sound carried through the terminal like sunlight breaking through clouds. Emily leaned her head on Luke's shoulder. We just wanted to come say thank you, she said. In person. All three of us. Ethan opened his mouth to answer, but Blitz stepped forward first. He lifted one paw and placed it gently on Emily's knee, like he was saying, no need. I'd do it again. And maybe that was the real ending. Not the rescue, not the surgery, not the miracle baby. But this, a moment. Quiet, soft, deeply human. A dog, a family, a child whose heartbeat existed because he refused to stay silent. And in that busy airport hallway, surrounded by strangers and luggage and flight announcements, everyone felt it. A love you don't see every day. A hero you don't forget. If you were standing there, watching little Ava grab Blitz's nose like that, would your heart survive it? Or would you melt on the spot like the rest of us?